With the failure of Master Series products, where does that leave game pieces that players need to get their hands on, those key cards that make their decks a possibility? In today's video, we are going to discuss this very topic as well as look at some cards in a desperate need of a reprint, but will it happen? Let's find out. 2024 is going to be something a little bit different when it comes to reprint products from Wizards of the Coast. Welcome back, everyone. MTG Moxman here. Thanks again for hanging out with me on the channel today. Now, before we get today's video started, just a reminder that if you enjoyed today's content, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. Turn on your notification bells, new content every single day. So we're talking about reprint products, but we're also talking about reprint cards. The ones that need to be reprinted to bring players a little bit more enjoyment, a little bit of joy to the deck construction, as well as keep some of the prices in check. But Wizards of the Coast has had so much blowback from so many of their Master Series products, as well as just reprint products like Ravnica Remastered, that it's just not going to go well for the company, which means they're probably going to be a lot more stingy on some of the reprint cards they decide to put together. And if you look at the releases we've got set for 2024, on the surface, it doesn't look like a lot, does it? We got Ravnica, then you go all the way down to Modern Horizons 3. Now, will that contain commander cards or other standard playable cards or variations of cards in some special print? We have no idea. We haven't gotten that far. I wouldn't put it past Wizards of the Coast to just jam-pack Modern Horizons 3, as I've talked about in earlier videos, because that can justify a price increase while giving a total myriad of variation cards that could actually make the product look a lot more attractive, but not offering as much to the actual dedicated modern group that may be normally buying that product. But as we go forward into 2025 or 2026, what does that mean for all kinds of other Commander staple cards being the most popular format? How are they going to get those cards into players' hands? How are they going to make it so that prices kind of stay in check? Or will they be so stingy that they will hold back on these things to let the prices rise, to let the IP value of those individual cards go up in value to warrant a reprint set somewhere in 2025, to revamp the playing hand that they've been dealt, to try to justify why they are putting a new expensive product together, because there are so many cards of such high value by that point. It's going to be interesting, but there are some cards out there that players look at, and some are expecting them to come around in Modern Horizons 3. Other people are expecting maybe special secret layers with that new announcement that they'll maybe key together some very individualized, smaller secret layers at a slightly higher price point, but giving some of those key value cards a reprint directly to the consumer at that higher price point. It's going to be interesting to see how things play out. But let's pause for a minute. Let's take a look at some of these cards we're talking about so we can see where these values may go. Now, when we're talking about Modern Horizons 3, it can't really be mentioned without the fact that Modern Horizons 2 saw a massive reprint of the Fetchlands coming back into play, and players are expecting to see these cards come around again. They need to see the allied Fetchlands get reprinted. So cards like Flooded Strand, which the values have kind of been going downward right now with pressure, but if they don't get reprinted in Modern Horizons 3, we are going to see these cards start to shoot up in value. Things like Polluted Delta in these cards are going to go through the roof, okay? And right now, the reprints we've seen have been kind of like the Expedition versions, the special box topper versions. Not enough cards hit the market to really affect the prices, but Wizards of the Coast gets to say, hey, these cards were available in this set. They kind of win-win there. And after we saw what happened with the last reprint in Modern Horizons 2, we saw those Fetchlands just get obliterated, okay? The values have never recuperated, and even now with the amount of sales we've seen for these cards, they've just never gone back up in value yet. It's probably going to take 2 or 3 more years. And Wizards of the Coast may have learned from that. They may have learned that to keep those land values higher, they need to slow down the reprints. So for those players who really want to see this thing happen in Modern Horizons 3, imagine if it doesn't happen. Imagine those values shooting up, and then it cries out for an even more of a desperate reprint, because these cards could go back up around that $50, $60 level again, where they were like back in 2021, 2022. It could be kind of crazy. I'll be curious to see how they play those cards out. Now, here's another one that a lot of people have mentioned to me in the past. And when you look it up, I mean, Ancient Tomb's still going up in value. It's still an expensive card, and players kind of just want to see a standardized reprint that can make it more available to players to use, okay? I totally get that. I understand it. I'm just not sure if Wizards of the Coast will print this card into a regular edition again. Like, just put it as anything other than some special box topper style card or special edition Secret Lair to ever get this card out in number that players actually want. Because at 84 to 85 bucks a card, it's kind of scary to think where this thing could go above $100. Wizards protects that IP value and says, we never really want to see this card dip, and they only put it in special editions. It's kind of disgusting to think they would do that way, but for any player who's holding this card and you know, controls a couple of the old Tempest versions or some of these other box topper versions, that's great for them, because the trade-in value and the worth of that card for anything they want to do, players will recognize this is a hard to get card. So it's kind of that flip side coin where I can see why Wizards will protect it. I can see why players want it reprinted, but I can also see why players who own this card want to hold on to it in case the value doesn't really go down. Depends on how Wizards plays their hand. Now, how about Fierce Guardianship? This is a card I've only seen played against me a few times, but back out in we go, you know, Commander 2020, and you see this card kind of held value the whole time, and look at it now. It's still like a $40 card. Who wouldn't like to see this thing get reprinted and bring it down to 20 bucks, right? A card like Fierce Guardianship coming around again is just one of those things that probably a lot of Commander players are hoping for, because we only need one of something in your deck. Like a lot of Commander players, or unless they're playing multiple decks, they want to have at least one of, right? So you want to get this card. And if you didn't buy it back in 2020, if you didn't get hold of this card and you thought maybe it was going to dip down or get another reprint, you're hoping this card comes back around, because again, the further we go without cards like this getting a reprint, the higher value that will slowly be, you know, put toward this card. Like, oh, it hasn't had a reprint like 4 or 5 years. It's now a $50 card. It's been 6 or 7 years. Now it's a $70 card. It's just one of those things you realize it could happen if Wizards is going the route of being really stingy. Now, again, it could come out as a Secret Lair, it could come out in some special, you know, edition in the next couple of years. It could be put into some, you know, special Tales type card, but you don't know how it's going to go right now. So a card like this right now, I think players realize it needs to get a reprint. A lot of players want it reprinted, but we're not sure where it's going to play out. And of course, Commander's Plate. I remember how great I thought this card was back when Commander Legends first came out. And it was really cheap, guys. This was like a $12 or $13 card. Very affordable when it first dropped. And we look at it now, and you look at how high it's gone up. And you realize this thing needs a reprint. And this is one of those cards I think should be reprinted. As much as I like seeing the value go up, and I think I have 2 or 3 copies, I would love to see this card get reprinted, because so many players want to utilize it. But at 40 bucks a card, it seems really expensive for something like of this card's type. It could be replaced with something better, but at this point where Wizards is and how they value their reprint products, I would expect this card either to get a reprint very soon in a Secret Lair, or be put into some other version of this card in some kind of, you know, promo style card. I can't see them holding off on this one too long, but another year or two could see this card reach 50, 60 bucks. So I'll be curious, because this thing does get played a lot. Now, Shieldred the Apocalypse. We're gonna end it at this part, but when you look at Shieldred here as a standardized card, and I saw this card in a lot of Franken decks where people were trying to get back into standard, and everyone wanted 4 of this thing. I mean, I think 40% of standard decks are playing with this thing right now. This card needs to get reprinted. And not just the little bit it got reprinted, and what was it, March of the Machines, the alternate version. This thing either needs to be banned, which a lot of players I know would love to see. And I'm not big on bannings, by the way, guys, so I'm not advocating for a ban on this card. But a reprint, bringing it back down to the $40, $50 level. I remember when I got my last couple of copies, it was when it first came out. I got a couple in a box, and I bought 2, I think, for 45 or 50 bucks. And you look at it now at 90 US, which means it's like $110 Canadian. It just seems so expensive, because 2 of these things gets me a dual land. So a card like this is either they're going to hang in there, not ban it, and let the price go up as some kind of special product they'll release later. Again, just like the other cards we've talked about. Or it's going to get a reprint super soon. Okay, like super soon, that sounds so bad, but super soon. Really quickly, because that value, For all these cards we've talked about, this one just seems to be going up exponentially with all the players jumping back into standard. So where does that leave you guys thinking about all these cards? And this, of course, is by no means a complete list of cards that need a reprint. But when you look at a standard player, a modern player, a commander player, depending on where their pocketbook lies, some of these cards could be super attainable. You're going to trade some cards and you get the cash flow, no problem. But for any player trying to compete against decks that contain these cards, yes, there's lots of answers. You got cards like Cut Down and stuff that are readily available for players now. But if you want to experience these cards and enjoy playing with them, that's a really steep price point for some players. It can really be that thing where you're like, whoa, man, I'd rather these things be like half the price they're at. You need them to have some value, and Wizards recognizes that for sure by this point, because they can see what's happening with Ravnica Remastered and the downplaying of value that players are attributing to those boxes. Players are not going to buy them. So Wizards is going to be a lot more cagey. They're going to turn the wheel, but it takes them a while. So if we go 2 or 3 more years without these products being reprinted, some of these things will rotate out, but they're still going to find homes in Modern and stuff and in Commander decks. I'll be curious to see, and I'll be interested if Wizards goes ahead and either, gives Master Series products a break, which I think they should. They're either going to jump into the kind of singles direct to market, is my opinion, with things like the Secret Lair announcement. That would make a lot of sense from a company standpoint. It's not in the best interest of players or LGSs, but the idea that it could go direct to market for some of these cards and they would add a higher price point could scare some players off, but it will attract other players who figure there's 3 or 4 cards, I really want them, and I can get them all for like $70. They may dive on that. They may dive right in, and Wizards of the Coast may go that route. We don't know. Their announcements can mean a whole litany of things when you just look at it at a glance. You have to take a tighter turn on it and say, where do I think this will go? Is it worth it for me to buy this card now? How quick could a reprint come, and what products could give me that reprint? Well, we've seen the spread of cards and sets they have coming out for 2024, and it doesn't look like anything, at first glance, other than Modern Horizons 3, is really going to give us a great reprint set of stuff, which means you might have to wait all the way till 2025, and that would just be crazy to think, but it looks like that's where Wizards may end up having to go so they can kind of build a Master Series product or rehash some new physics behind their Master Series products to give it more value, which a lot of these cards could end up being found inside that box. But expect some of the things to be upshifted to Mythic or be super hard on the track printing because they want to charge more, but they want to give less, because that way they can justify putting more products out. But honestly, in my opinion, I think it'd be great if they gave them all a rest. I understand the prices will rise, but at the same time, give us a few entirely new realms, new worlds, new planes of existence to go to for a year or two, and put one Master Series product every 2 or 3 years, where you can put a lot of these products jam-packed in. Yes, it'll be at a higher price point, but it will attract an audience because there'll be such a litany of cards that it may even justify the value and allow for players with multiple years between reprints to not lose all the value in the cards that they paid top dollar to get. That's where I'm kind of at with that. Anyway, that's my thoughts for the day. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Thanks a lot for tuning in today. I look forward to seeing all those comments in the comment section. Which other cards do you think deserve a reprint right now? And how would you feel if they do a Master Series product every 2 or 3 years? One product only. I'd be curious to see what players say. I really want to know that. I mean, we all have a voice to say inside Magic and how things are done. We may not be able to influence the actual results, but it's good to talk about to see what goes on. Thanks a lot, guys. Thanks for tuning in. And again, here at the end of the video, because there's probably nobody here at this point, thanks again for everyone who tried to get into the 20K party. I understand it was like a crazy day. I was on here for hours and hours replying to emails, and I did sell out a lot faster than I expected. I apologize for that. For the next party, I will try to make sure there are more items available as long as I can manage the shipping. So I'll try to work that through. And of course, I'll discuss that with patrons and YouTube membership members, as well as any viewers who want to input. You can just send me an email about ideas you think would be cool. Okay, thanks a lot, guys. Great talking to you all today. Have an awesome day and enjoy Magic. It's such a good game. To all the amazing fans here who support me through Patreon, on my YouTube membership members, thanks again for being here and supporting everything we do, the daily uploaded content, the party we're about to go through. Guys, it's amazing. Thanks to every single one of you. Welcome back to the Ramble Jamble. You're here at the end with the coffee mug. Now, I still have coffee in here, but we are at the end of a very busy day. Okay, this is I guess this is being recorded Thursday night. Finished the 20K stuff, got everything out, answered all the emails I could. I wasn't answering emails that if you guys asked for something but you weren't in queue, like I didn't get to you before I sold out of something, I didn't reply to those people. I apologize, guys. There's just too many emails. There was hundreds. I would never end. I'm a single man show here. But some people did send me some stuff at Christmas, like new. I have stuff downstairs you guys sent to my P.O. box. I will have some of that stuff out. I mean, I'll be retiring this mug because somebody sent me a new mug and stuff, so it'll be kind of cool. I haven't opened it. I'm going to do it all here in the 20K party. So I just want to thank those people for sending those great little gifts and stuff out. I really appreciate it. It's so cool. You're so thoughtful. Thanks again. It was a crazy day for that 20K party. That was crazy. I know it may have looked simple. It's not simple. Not simple at all, because you have to go through the emails, but you have to check your junk mail and your regular mail and go up it, because some people end up in junk if they're not regular people who email me. That was a lot of fun. A lot of fun. But you know what? It's going to be a great party. It's so cool to think about. But now, let's jump to the end here, and let's talk about this reprint thing. When you realize how many cards need a reprint still, and people think, well, Wizards doesn't have that much reprint equity. They really don't. They could put all those cards that we're talking about probably into one set, and then you're running out of cards. You could add in Dockside Extort, all these $30, $40 cards you could add in there. But I think Wizards is trying to rehash how they do things. And I've had a discussion with some of you guys on the Patreon, some of you guys who email me regularly, and it's just one of those things where you're like, I wonder where they're going to... I'm just curious to see where they're going to take the ship. And how many of us will look for lifeboats, or will take the cruise and see what happens. Without the cards being reprinted in 2023 into 2024 and 2024 and 2025, some of these cards are not going to get a reprint. They're just not. Now, 12 months doesn't mean a card's going to go through the roof in value, but it may see that trickle-up effect of 20, 30 cents every couple of months, just because nobody opens the old product. Nobody's hashing through stuff hoping for one card, so it's left to the secondary market to watch the values go up with the buyers and sellers. So I wonder how Wizards will attribute that to their economic team later when they decide what they're going to put into what products, or how they'll revamp the Master Series product and give us some new name and new stuff. I'm curious. Or will they just keep going with Master Series and I'm totally wrong? Crazy stuff, man. Crazy. Anyway, I'm getting back to my coffee. I'm going to chill out now because honestly, this is one of those days I'm like, yep, I deserve it. It was a busy day. I mean, it was a day off work, which was nice. Got to walk the dog, spend some time with Mrs. Mox, Mini Mox, but still an exhausting one. A busy one. Not a bad one. It's a good one. Good busy. That makes sense? Good busy? Yeah. You guys get it. All right. I'll talk to you soon. Have an awesome one. Enjoy the day. I know I am.